So we established this military working group back in 2021 and met several times throughout the year in order to evaluate how North Korea's conventional capabilities might evolve over time and how to address those issues. So at first we considered categorizing these different capabilities into low and medium and high risk scenarios. But over the time through our meetings, we decided that taking a more checkerboard approach in which some capabilities obviously are advancing more rapidly than others and asymmetrically would be more realistic. So for example, we know that North Korea's ICBM testing and development poses a very high risk, but there are many factors that could limit the speed to which it's available. So its development and design, production capacity of North Korea, procurement of resources, logistics and training, etc. So in order to mitigate these kinds of shortcomings and that perception of weakness, our report recommends building in what we call combinedness at all levels of the alliance. So implementing trainings and exercises on different critical infrastructure, for example, that don't necessarily get a lot of attention or have been historically ignored in these exercises, that can increase cooperation between the US and South Korea. And in addition to its military exercises, I think that South Korea could increase its involvement in non-combatant evacuation operations. So those might be seen as less escalatory to North Korea. So overall, I think taking an approach of greater communication, integration, and that combinedness will help to create a more united front between these two administrations. In my opinion, one of the most critical recommendations is for the alliance to take a more whole of government approach to preparation. So instead of focusing on military exercises that deal solely with those higher risk scenarios, such as defending against artillery or ICBM or comparable conventional capabilities, we know that North Korea can and could attack at lower levels and different sectors of civilian-related infrastructure, such as communication systems, energy sectors, transit, cyber, water and waste treatment systems, parts of infrastructure that are necessary for a country to work and can sustain a large amount of damage and lead to loss of life in the event of an attack. So it's difficult because you can't realistically prepare for every single scenario, but practicing these exercises, random intervals, rotating different scenarios, understanding that these attacks can happen both in times of war and in peace, that'll allow for better cohesion in the alliance. It'll highlight those gaps that need to be addressed, and that in turn can build assurance for both the US and South Korean public that the alliance concerns are concretely being addressed, potential threats are being prepared for, and it can help produce a more credible deterrence threat at the same time to prevent escalation or miscalculation from North Korea. Sometimes in the media reports, they report these conventional and nuclear weapons related developments as shocking. But if you look at the North Korean media statements and all of the reports that they've released on their New Year's address and Eighth Party Congress and their 5-year economic plan, it's really in line with what they said they were going to do. So it's not a surprise. We know that they've been putting into plans to develop a reconnaissance satellite launch at some point. We've seen recent testing on that, and whether or not they do something for April 15th is kind of up to discussion. But it's not a surprise. We know what they've been developing, we know why they're developing it, and we kind of know the timeline in which they're hoping to develop these things. So they're being predictable. So I think we can also be more predictable if both of the administrations get together. You know, they're allies. Our alliance is supposed to be ironclad. We want to put those words into action. We really want to get together and put cohesive policies out from both countries in relation to North Korea in terms of negotiations, and also trying to deter these additional conventional capability developments that make people so worried. So I think public education can also help on that front, both in terms of what the alliance is doing and how we're addressing what North Korea is doing.